Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's virtual charrette for the Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy. Dallas ISD, we're so very excited to have you join us this evening. If you're on our live Zoom, we're going to take a few moments right here, right now, to pause for our interpreter to be able to share how to, if you're joining us and need Spanish interpretation, how to participate in tonight's meeting. Go ahead.
Hola, buenas noches. Vamos a comenzar a interpretar en español. Si usted desea escuchar esta presentación en español, seleccione la opción en español en la parte derecha inferior de la pantalla, lo que es el icono del mundo. La opción en español no es compatible con el Chromebook. Le recomiendo entrar a la reunión utilizando su teléfono celular, computadora PC, iPad, laptop o tableta. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And again, welcome to tonight's meeting. Welcome to tonight's meeting for the new Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy. This is the fourth meeting we've had regarding this new project, and we're very excited to be able to share information with you tonight. Via this Zoom call, you can, of course, ask any questions on the chat or using the reactions button in the lower right-hand portion of your screen. You can raise your hand and go off mute and ask questions at the time. If you're joining us on Facebook or on our live broadcast, we're so excited to have you join us tonight. You can ask your questions and comments on Facebook, and we'll make sure we get those comments and your thoughts and questions shared and answered as well. Right now, we're very excited and pleased to be able to introduce to you the amazing principal for this campus, Mr. Tatum. Principal Tatum, if you would like to have remarks at this time.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you so much for hosting this design charrette here at Dallas ISD. The Bond 2020 program was a great success for the community here at Longfellow, and we're very excited to continue the journey of deciding what this new building will look like. Our current campus was built in 1947, nearing 75 years old, and to think about the opportunity that all of us have on this call and on Facebook Live to give feedback and input on what the building for the next 75 to 100 years will look like and operate like for these amazing students at Longfellow is a very, very exciting opportunity. So we're excited to see what our friends at Huckabee present tonight. I hope you will ask great questions, give insightful feedback, and continue with us on our journey as we help our students find their career at the Career Exploration Academy at Henry W. Longfellow. Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for the amazing work that you and your team of educators are doing in the community for our family, especially during these difficult times. We're really so pleased to have you be able to join us this evening. With that being said, we also have another incredible educator who is actually the executive director for a number of our schools, including Longfellow, Mr. Ryan Zeiss. Mr. Zeiss, if you'd like to make comments at this time, please go ahead and do so.
Excellent. Yeah, good evening, everyone. So glad to have everyone here on the call. See some familiar faces in the participant list and some new faces as well. So excited that you've joined us. As Mr. Tatum mentioned, the architects are going to be presenting some new ideas for us, and having you a part of this process and getting feedback from you along the way is really the most critical part of this whole process. And so I really appreciate you giving up some time this evening to help us guide the process, and look forward to seeing the presentation with you tonight from Huckabee Architects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zeiss. And again, thank you for the incredible job you do as far as guiding and assisting our principals to educate our students. Also on the call today, as many of you know, Longfellow is one of our magnet school programs. And we're so excited that applications for next school year will open up on November the 1st. And you can, while you're hearing about the great things happening, we certainly want to give you the opportunity that if you have a child who wants to attend Longfellow, that you can do so by completing an application at www.dallasisd.org/choose Dallas ISD. And with that being said, we actually have the head of our magnet school program and central enrollment on the call tonight, Ms. Keisha
Good afternoon, families. Thank you for joining the Bond program for Longfellow. We do have our upcoming Choose Dallas ISD on Saturday, November the 6th. We hope you are available to come out and hear about all of the great things that we have going on in Dallas ISD, especially Longfellow. This is the time that you can apply for your student to apply any of our choice programs, our magnet schools, our transformation schools, our IB programs, and our PTEX. So please, as Ms. Bell said, visit www.dallasisd.choose or go to the homepage. In the middle of the page, you'll see a schoolhouse that says Choose Dallas ISD. Click on that link and you're able to find out about all of the offerings that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Davis, for joining us. And what an incredible time to be able to choose Dallas ISD. Now, with that being said, we're going to go on to the purpose of tonight's meeting, which is to discuss and to unveil plans for the new home for Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy. So to start our meeting, we will have our Deputy Chief of Construction and Bond, Brent Alfred, will start our meeting off. Go ahead, Mr. Alfred.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you, Longfellow community. We're working hard behind the scenes since our last meeting to bring you this presentation tonight. I'm impressed with the Huckabee team. Andre has been a wealth of knowledge to me and a resource. So I can't really wait to get the feedback from you guys. I hope you're seeing that we're listening to you guys. We're thinking bold, innovative, and generational, and we're capturing your ideas for this project. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mr. Andre Brackens to introduce his team. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alfred. Again, we appreciate the opportunity. We're very excited to be able to be a part of the project team and excited for both the community involvement and just the opportunity again to present tonight. We begin to kind of show you the journey and tell you the story of what it's meant to be able to engage with you. And again, each meeting we've been able to build upon your input, your ideas, while also incorporating the overall vision of Dallas ISD. And so it's pretty exciting. And again, we're humbled and grateful to be able to present to you tonight. You see our team on the screen. I'm Andre. I get the opportunity to serve as principal to Dallas ISD and specifically on this project, which we're very excited about. You'll hear from Conrad tonight. He'll do the bulk of our presentation, but our team has worked very hard to take the information you have given us and begin to put it in a format that we can present to you and again, be able to see the objectives that you have, being able to see them met and the vision for the school specifically. It's a unique school. It's a unique opportunity to create a design environment that certainly lends itself to the educational delivery that's available. So you'll see Mike, Ken, Caitlin, Andrea, all of them have worked very hard and we're really excited to be able to present to you tonight, sort of the culmination of our previous meetings as we continue to move forward. And again, I think Ms. Bell made clear, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat as we go along, and we certainly want to address those. But again, kudos to Mr. Tatum and his team and everyone who's given up their time to give the input and garner really some really valuable items that we utilize to be able to come up to a great solution. So I'm going to turn it over to Conrad. He'll sort of take us from our history, where we are, and then bring us up to present. And he and I will tag team a little bit tonight. And again, we're excited for the opportunity. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you. We are excited to share what we've been working on. Y'all are familiar with our last presentation where we were able to take some good feedbacks and start to prioritize the ideas that were really important to the community, to the school. A big part of that was really
recording in progress.
Make sure we took care of the site, really approached the site well, and make sure we had captured as much green space as we possibly could, the history of the school, and making sure that this was going to be a future-ready, modern, progressive approach and solution to your project. we took a lot of great data and captured a lot of good analysis. So we really appreciate the priorities again, to remember a good blend of a classical and contemporary solution, to make sure that there was lots of ways to make sure we were safe and secure with our site and our building, make sure that there was a lot of collaborative use of the learning spaces. Natural light was a big importance in outdoor space, and the idea of making sure that we were sustainable and green in our approach to the solution. As we evolved the last presentation, we started getting into more of the specific details of the building, not just the property and the site and the use of the site, but the building itself. And we started exploring the idea of houses and the house configuration within the academic, the classroom spaces. And Mr. Tatum and his team really shared a lot of good insight as to how they envision the culture of the students and the staff operating, and how that would influence and affect this the school itself, and how it would, if you broke this into 3 different neighborhoods, houses, it could create a really dynamic culture of a small group setting, breaking down the students into 3 different small group settings with some flexibility, with classrooms surrounding a collab space, teacher space is centrally located, a science lab that is dedicated to each house, and small breakout spaces. So really a lot of flexibility, adaptability, a lot of choice for the students, a lot of choice for the staff in terms of how they deliver education, how they learn, how they teach, how they move through the space. And so a lot of great insight for how we could configure these houses. These houses would be right adjacent to the CTE programs. So immediately coming out of a standard classroom could go straight into their career path CTE spaces. So this was just this is a blow up showing the house configuration within the overall building. I mentioned, I think, that we're looking at stacking these academic houses at 3 stories. So we'll have this portion of the building will be 3 stories as far as the houses. You can see on the right, the houses will sit on this upper quadrant of the overall L-shaped building, and be central to the site, essentially surrounded by green space and access to outdoor space for outdoor learning. As we move forward, I'd like for Andre to talk about our next steps, what we've done, and where we're headed.
Yeah, thanks, Conrad. And this again is just to capture, there's been a tremendous amount of time given and a lot of engagement. Now, there's still a lot of engagement that we will have with departmental leaders and others, but this just gives you a little bit of an idea of a timeline since we started in June, as we work our way, all the way now through September and into October. And you can see that there's been some great, not only information that's been shared, but we really wanted to capture the heart and the spirit of the uniqueness of the Academy. And so we're really excited about kind of our pathway leading up to this point. And again, we just want to give you kudos in terms of your involvement and the information that you've been able to share with us. So you kind of see a timeline there as we look forward to spring of 2024 in terms of a TCO, or certificate of occupancy, and then sometime fall 2024 in terms of the start of the school. So a lot of work still to go, a lot of engagement with departments. We will meet with each department to make sure we're garnering all the information and capturing all the information that we need to really make this the space you desire it to be. So again, that just kind of gives you a little bit of the history, and I just can't again express enough how valuable your information and engagement and participation has been, whether it's been in our polling questions or the specifics of what's needed in each of these spaces. So again, we're excited, we're moving ahead. We're going to get to a few more specifics in terms of what we've been able to learn so far and what that looks like in a building and a site configuration. So Conrad, I'll turn it back over to you.
So This is where we're at in terms of laying out the site plan, but you're also seeing that we're starting to work through the programmatic areas within the building and the circulation. So as we met with Mr. Tatum and his team, we were able to evolve some of the thinking as far as the building. I'll talk about the site plan first in terms of simplifying the drop-off for the bus loop here and parent and bus drop-off here, so that we get some good stacking, good parking. But we feel like we've got the parking adequately located and arranged that will afford us quite a bit of green space. We're showing different quadrants of focus within the green space in terms of outdoor learning space. It's adjacent to the academics, but then walking path and play field activity fields out in this quadrant of the building, and then community gardens in this area, and then really beltway in terms of wrapping the entire building with some green space, looking at using some landscape to screen some of what's adjacent to the school along Boaz, but being a good neighbor to our neighbors on these opposite adjacent sides of the site. As far as the building, overall building layout, we're looking, I mentioned the 3-story classroom academic space. Then we get into some 2-story CTE programs that allow those students to go to and from immediately from their standard academics. We've got the front door facing inwood, which was a request from the community members and staff as well. Looking at locating a community space right off that main spine and the admin. And this affords us to also provide quite a bit of security in terms of the approach and navigating people arriving at the school. Then the fine arts, this will be a quadrant where we focus on fine arts and all those related to the fine arts programs. We'd have the dining and kitchen located here. So it has access to green space and outdoor dining. And then we'll have support space and some service drive off this back quadrant. And then the physical ed athletics area here adjacent to these activity fields, play fields, and walking path. So we feel like we've been able to, in working and collaborating with Mr. Tatum and his team and others, got a good layout, not only of the site, but of the building itself, and are addressing a lot of those desires and needs that came from our previous programs in terms of natural light and outdoor space and collaboration. And every one of these spaces will have view and natural light to them. So that was another big importance. So this is where we've got to in terms of our evolution and development. And as we get towards the end of the presentation, I'll talk a little bit more about how we got there. But let's move towards the next portion of what we've spent time doing.
And Conrad, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you could go back to the previous slide, I want to make sure that we also emphasize, as we talk about and we use the term or the nomenclature green, basically what we mean, the Dallas ISD uses something called CHIPS in terms of the standards. And what that means is we want to look at sustainable items that we can incorporate not only into the site itself, but into the building in terms of learning opportunities and just making that part of the educational experience as well. But the standard is really CHIPS, and that's through Dallas ISD. So when we talked about the green initiatives that we wanted to try and incorporate, that we knew that were important from the information that you shared with us, that's kind of our model and kind of our standard, and included in several of the design considerations. So
thank you, Andre, for elaborating on that. So in order for us to have really approached the solution, the building solution that we did and what we just shared with you, there was a lot of discussion about the program, the spaces needed to make this school successful, the spaces that are needed to accommodate the staff and students. And so this is a diagram illustrating where we've arrived, making sure we're meeting the ed specs and tech specs of DISD, as well as this very unique and special program in terms of this career exploration. So This is just really an illustration to show you that we are accomplishing all that's needed and been asked for related to Mr. Tatum and his staff and the DISD's ed specs. And so you'll see that each area has very specific spaces in terms of making sure that they're able to deliver the programs that they're needing to, and then that the core of the classroom is the bulk of, like any school, the bulk of the space that's being used in this program. So we want to now move to show you a little bit more about what's happened and how we've evolved from the conversations we've had. So in the very beginning, we had a program, I just mentioned, a list of spaces that we worked through and vetted through multiple times. And that started to evolve some big concepts. We had, when we met with Mr. Tatum and others, we had started with three overall concepts on how we could lay out the overall spaces within the site and the building. And through those conversations, we arrived and selected this particular concept. At the time, it was concept 2. And we began to evolve and look at some changes to some of that program and the location of some of that program. And the same thing had taken place when we were looking at the house concepts. We had started some initial arrangements and then massaged those based on feedback we got in our conversations to arrive at the concept that we showed you just a few minutes ago. And through these exercises, you can see the evolution that's continued to take place to the point of looking at all 3 floors in terms of how those stack. I was just running through that first floor plan and how it works in the site. This begins to let you see how that second floor is going to stack in terms of standard academics and the CTE programs and access view and down into the library. And then that third floor and how it would stack even more in terms of its relation to the first and second floor classrooms and academics. What we're doing now is we're starting to dive a little deeper and look at every space within that program, within these areas. And we're just in the beginning stages of looking at and laying out each one of these spaces and programs. So we will be meeting, as you saw on the schedule that was shared by Andre, with multiple groups to take a look at these programs and take a look at these spaces and make sure that we're making sure we're meeting their needs and requirements. So that is part of our next step of evolution. We are also at the same time, as we're looking at how it fits in the site and works in the site, we're starting to look at what we call massing the volumes and the proportions within the building and how it might fit and work and relate to the site and relate to the context and its neighbors. So I would like to share with you and show you how that's starting to evolve and take place as well. You can see here that we're really starting to take a look at what you would experience as you come down Inwood with that 3-story academic space, but still being able to see and understand the front door and that main entrance and some of that second floor space. We really like how this is stair-stepping towards and up along the side as you come down this direction from Inwood. And it steps down as you get closer to the neighborhoods, to a single story or story and a half, as being a good neighbor to the residences in the home. So it's not, we don't have the height back towards the neighbors, but up to Inwood and the street. So, and a lot of green space as you get back into this point. So we really like how it's starting to cradle this back outdoor learning space and how you can start to see all the natural, we're going to be able to get a lot of glass and transparency that will look down into this outdoor learning space and out across the rest of the green space. So we're in the very early stages of looking at how the building could mass out. We'll, from here, start looking at architectural character. So appreciate the opportunity to share and show you the evolution of the work we've been doing. And we would love to offer up, if there hasn't been any questions so far, please raise your hand or.
And Conrad, if I may, there are a couple of other things that we'd like to point out about the site and also the shape of the building. Now, the shape of the building is very important, but it also has the practical aspect because some of the things we were able to garner, obviously there is an existing building on site. And part of the objective and part of the advantage, of this type of design is that we won't have to basically demo parts of the existing building in order to build a new one. So the new building structure itself can be completed and then all of the students transferred over to the new building, and then the existing building can then be demolished. And so I think that was an important aspect in terms of making sure that the students continue to have the space that they need, and the staff had the space that they need to take care of academics and educating the students while we build. And we wanted the least disruptive option that we could find. So that was something that was important in the consideration as well, but it worked out well as well for the overall layout and design and site configuration. I think the last comment before we turn it back over and open it up for questions is that, trees are very important, obviously. And so we wanted to make sure that we were maintaining as many existing trees as we could, but also making it a very tree-friendly green space and environment and site. It's a very important character of the neighborhood, and something that's unique on a site that has this age and this number of mature trees. So we're very excited about it. Mr. Tatum even has us connected with others who want to participate in that from the community. So again, we appreciate the opportunity and want to again open it up for any questions that we could potentially answer.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, and how exciting. What a great way to proceed. Again, if you're joining us on today's call, please feel free to ask questions in the chat room, or you can use the reactions button and raise your hand, and we can take you off mute, and you can ask the question in person or any comments you may have. If you're joining us on Facebook, please feel free to share your thoughts and your ideas and suggestions as comments, and we will get those shared as well. Now, I do have something in the chat room. Is there going to be more than one library space? If so, why? It sees it increases staffing needs.
Currently, we have a large library space that's very centrally located in terms of it's central to the whole overall building and close to the classrooms. There has been some discussion about possibly having access from the second floor down into the library, so that students from first and second are able to get to the library. But we are meeting the DISD requirements for the number of students and the size of this school to make sure that we are adequately supplying library space for this building.
Wonderful. Let me ask for a reaction. We're waiting on people to make comments. Principal Tatum, this is your new home. What do you think?
You know, one of the amazing situations about the legacy of this school is that when it was built in 1947, this area was very, very different than it is now. It was considered the outskirts of town, and it was sort of a northern stake post for the district as the post-war years boomed. And it's amazing to see a revitalization looking at the next century of learning that could happen here, really reflecting on the trends and changes in, what some people would refer to John Dewey's progressive education, really focuses around its magnet school experience, but is considerate and respectful of the history of this location as important to Dallas ISD, this location as important to the city of Dallas. We're right at the heart. And honestly, we're sort of like we're almost putting like a little, it's like a little bit of heart surgery. We're reconfiguring to make sure our heart stays strong for Dallas ISD. The teachers who have been working for weeks and months on this particular project, giving feedback to the architect team who've been wonderful to work with, and the communication with the secondary project that's happening with the Texas Tree Foundation and the Cool School Community Parks Foundation, to make sure that whatever we do also becomes an asset to the community as a green space, not only for our students who, through the outdoor learning environment and the green space and the sort of commitment to building out the interior of the building to be visible and see how it operates, which is one of the things that we've been talking about programmatically for the Career Exploration Academy, but also making sure that it is a beautiful space for the community to enjoy as well. So it's taken a lot of boxes for me, someone who's been doing education for a couple decades now and has had the opportunity to help out with a couple of bond projects for facilities here in Austin and Dallas, both cities. It's doing some pretty amazing things. And of course, we're just still in the beginning stages of this. The team at Huckabee has been really great about, making sure that every incremental change doesn't mean that nothing else is happening. What you see here is not the final drawing. You couldn't build a doghouse from the drawing that you see here, but it does give an indication of where things are going. And as we evolve and respond, we get a chance to keep refining and refining and refining to make a special home for the Career Exploration Academy for the next century. It's pretty exciting for me.
Fantastic. We're excited to, we can tell your excitement and think about the wonderful things they'll be able to do with your students in the future in this wonderful new space. We do have another question coming in. A question about environmental projects like solar, wind, gray water. Are any of those included in the project?
Andre, you want to speak to that, or?
Yeah, and again, we're going through with the Dallas ISD standards using what we call, again, the CHIPS guidelines. So there are things that we incorporate specifically on a smaller scale in specific areas. But in terms of, a solar turbine or something like that, it won't be anything of that scale. But for example, a good example is students will be able to, for things specifically like air and water, students will be able to look at transparent areas that show how those systems work. We're looking at some items in terms of potential solar furniture and things to do in the green spaces. Now, obviously, that has to go through a process of approvals, but that, again, that is something that's important. From a sustainability standpoint, the CHIPS will be our guidelines. So that's kind of how we're addressing that from a sustainability standpoint.
Okay, great. Now we have another question coming about the auditorium. They said that I don't see any common auditorium. I thought in previous presentations you said there would be a common space that the community could use.
So we do have we have a community center space, and there is a multi-purpose space associated with the physical ed and athletics area. We will have the fine arts and will. Right now we're working through and talking through the specifics, more specifics around the auditorium and how that space is going to be used, and how it wants to address both obviously the instruction in the programs, but also the public using that space. So that's still in development, but there is definitely space for the community members to come and meet and use this facility. It's nice to see that not every school has dedicated space for the community. And so it's a very unique opportunity for this neighborhood and those that attend this school and their family members to be able to use it. It was centrally located in terms of this community center. That's addressing, I hope it addresses the question. I'm sorry if I misunderstood the question.
Great. Did that answer the question? I want to make sure we address that. And again, if you're joining us on the Zoom call, you can raise your hand and go off mute and ask the question. in person, or certainly make a comment in the chat. If not, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, please feel free to make any comments, ask any questions, excuse me, as a comment in the comment section. We will share those as well.
Ms. Bell, I just wanted to maybe give a little bit extra response.
Yes,
you know, so all school facilities, of course, are community shared facilities. They belong to the taxpayers of the Dallas Independent School District. And so these spaces are always available through the rental process that obviously prioritizes instructional programming first, but is available. One of the unique things about magnet schools is that our kids come from all over the city of Dallas. And so they also go home at the end of the day. And so there's a lot of availability on campuses to become fully utilized. One of the things I think, especially as a taxpayer, I find very important is that we maximize the use of our taxpayer funded facilities. And so this is a great opportunity. The fact that the community center and the auditorium spaces and the library and the cafeteria and dining areas are all sort of at the heart of the building and have access on both the inwood entrance and the sort of courtyard that's being developed really does make it accessible to the community, just as we had sort of imagined and hoped for in previous conversations. So it's going to be a great asset to the community as well.
wonderful. And what a great way to partner with community groups and others, volunteers, to be able to make sure that we're utilizing our space and reaching out to our most valuable assets, the members of our community and future members of our Dallas ISD family. Does we want to see if anyone, we want to make sure that we're addressing any questions that anyone has about this particular design. As we said, this is a rough design, but it does allow you to see the direction in which we're heading for the new Longfellow Career Exploration Academy. So with that being said, if you wouldn't mind, I think we had a few people that might have joined us online late. If you wouldn't mind just doing a quick overview again of to show the design before we close. Conrad, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We have evolved through several conversations and are currently at this solution for the site in terms of making sure that we are addressing parking, bus drive, parent drop off and loop, making sure we make as much green space as we can surrounding the entire site, being good neighbors to our residences on either side adjacent to us, addressing inwood with the front door and front entrance. We've located the 3-story academic house in this upper quadrant of the site, more towards the public spaces and as opposed to the neighborhood space. You can see here that again, it's a 3-story concept. It's really to try and give us back as much possible green space as we can. So we have a 3-story tower, academic house tower, with the second floor having some CTE, first and second floor having direct access to the CTE programs outside of those standard academics. And then wrapping around, you enter that front door, administration allows us to secure those that are entering. We have fine arts in this quadrant. We have kitchen and dining at this lower area here with outdoor dining. And we have the physical ed and athletics programs that have a good adjacency to this activity field. And there's walking paths out as part of this space as well. The academics and library and space has direct access to this outdoor space as well. So you can see here that this is where we're at as far as the solution, but we have also started laying out individual spaces within each one of these areas. So we're making some progress, but we need to meet with Mr. Tatum and his team to make sure some of these decisions we're making are accurate and will work well for those that are teaching these programs and using this building, and as well as the community that comes and will be visiting and using this building as well. So that's our where we've evolved from our conversations and the influences that we've had from Mr. Tatum and his staff and the community input and feedback we've been given, we feel that we've tried very hard to make sure we're listening and incorporating all these priorities, suggestions that have been made. So we look forward to the meetings that we'll have here in the very near future with Mr. Tatum and others to make sure we continue to evolve this to the best solution we possibly can for them.
I wonder if could you also show the vision, the design you had just showed how it would look from the street level?
Oh, okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. In terms of so we are also starting to mass the building, start to look at volumes and heights and how it will relate to the context, the neighbor. So if you're traveling down Inwood, you start to see where that 3-story academic tower would be, and be able to see the front door from Inwood and how that relates and works with the overall front facade. And it starts to step down as you get towards the neighbors and neighborhood. So we really like how it's staggered and how it's massing works out. You can see how the CT second floor programs relate to that second floor. You start to see, we're starting to explore what the auditorium might be like in terms of house seating and stage in the loft area. The dining will be 1.5 stories. Its kitchen, the gym, and the support spaces for the gym. You can see how this will really create a nice outdoor space as it starts to cradle this outdoor space and create some nice shaded areas in the sheltering of the building. So I think it'll work really nicely too in terms of being able to drop these students off close to the building. It creates some nice zones for outdoor space. So this is the beginnings of the building, and its massing will start. This will definitely evolve into actually having some architectural character and aesthetic that is incorporating the suggestions and feedback we've had from previous meetings.
Fantastic. We do have another question coming in. Has the conversation with the city pedestrian access on Inwood and Bowes begun? And how is that affecting your planned state design?
Yes, we actually have a meeting scheduled. It's called a pre-development meeting, and that's coming up. I believe we have a date in January, but we did reach out so that we could start to make sure we're collaborating, because I know the city has a plan and there's some work that they already have on the books and planned, and we just want to make sure that we coordinate with that so that this is not redundant work, and that in that collaboration we're able to address it. So yes, we are meeting with the city on several items, but we do have our official pre-development meeting coming up, I believe, in January.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time. So with that being said, Mr. Alfred, would you like to take us over next steps?
Yeah, I think we're progressing well on this project. It looks like we've got some of our massing down in our site plan. So as Andre mentioned, we're setting up our next meeting with the city of Dallas to go over their pre-development plans, make sure we're on the right path. And I would like to get back in front of this group, possibly late January, early February, to kind of show you, where the plan is. By that time, we've met with some more small groups with Dallas ISD to make sure that the spaces are correct. And right now, as you saw, the architects have some massing developed, but probably by January, February meeting, we'll have some architecture. We can kind of show you, look at some of those facades and do some studies that way. And then in April is architecture month. I really got a big surprise for you guys, but I want to talk to our architects about that, and we're really think you're gonna be pleased with it. So just remember, big picture, we want to open this building for fall of 2024, and think we're making great progress. And if there are no other questions or comments, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Bell.
Thank you so much. And again, you can keep, please, we invite you all, if you know someone who's unable to attend today's meeting, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared at our Bond 2015 website. You can go to Bond 2020 meetings and you'll see the video there, as well as, of course, it's on Facebook as we speak. So please feel free to share the Facebook link or let other people know the amazing things that are happening, thanks to your vote, to support the Bond 2020 program. With that being said, we also want to recognize again for closing remarks, our executive director, Mrs. Ice. Would you care to make remarks at this time?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you to Huckabee Architects for the presentation tonight. It's been great to see all of the work and all of the feedback come together little by little, and we're really excited to continue giving input and seeing how this develops. So thank you for everyone in the audience for being here as well. And we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming meetings.
Thank you again. And again, we want to remind you that Henry W. Longfellow Career Exploration Academy is a magnet school. That means that children, as the principal said, come from all over the city of Dallas to attend this amazing campus. And your child can become a part of this as well. Applications open up on November 1st. And all you have to do is go to dallasisd.org/choose Dallas ISD, or as Ms. Davis stated earlier, if you go to Dallas ISD website, we're making it super easy. There's a little school building in the middle of the page. You click that button, you can put in your application to be a part of the Longfellow community and find out about other magnet school, innovation, transformation, career institutes. Dallas ISD has so much to offer to our community, and it's all right there on Choose Dallas ISD. But of course, I know, Mr. Tatum, you're going to be pushing for people to apply to Longfellow. So with that, I'm going to let you make closing remarks and let people know what's going on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Bell, Dr. Zisk, everyone on the team at Huckabee. We really appreciate you. And of course, those who are watching from the Longfellow community and the Dallas community in general, we are so excited to invite you to this process. But also, if you're thinking about finding the best fit for your student, and it might be Longfellow, learn more about our school. You can click the How to Apply at dallasisd.org/Longfellow and see that we have magnet open houses coming up, Discover Dallas ISD, lots of chances to learn more about the school and see if it's the right fit for your student. It's one of the top 10 middle schools in Texas per U.S. News World Reports. We're proud to show you why, and we hope to see you at these events and at those Discover Dallas ISD events real soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Have a wonderful night, and thank you for participating. Again, don't forget, visit dallasisd.org for more information on how to become a part of the Longfellow family. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight.